Hi and welcome to, excuse me, the daily reading for June 26th. And as every day this year, we're doing Jesus Calling, or the reading is from Jesus Calling by Sarah Young, and the subtitle is Enjoying Peace in His Presence. And this year is about my own spiritual exploration, which I'm just sharing in 5 minutes every day online with you. So, June 26th. Stay calmly conscious of me today, no matter what. Remember that I go before you as well as with you into the day. Nothing takes me by surprise. I will not allow circumstances to overwhelm you so long as you look to me. I will help you cope with whatever the moment presents. Collaborating with me brings blessings that far outweigh all your troubles. Awareness of my presence contains joy that can endure all eventualities. And this reading ties in with Psalm 25, I think, verses 3 to 4, and 2 Corinthians, interesting, I think it's 4, and it's verse 16 to 17, but I could be wrong. My eyes were absolutely perfect when I did a pre-read of this. Just I pre-read it so that I could put in the titles and the hashtags. And when I read it the first time, I thought, oh, great, eyes are working today. And I read that, those numbers perfectly. And then when I went down the second time, it was not so perfect. But it is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 and 17, and Psalm, still having troubles with the Psalm though, verses 2 to 4, and it's Psalm, I think it's either 23 or 25. Actually, let me see. Psalm 23. Actually, that's the Lord is my shepherd. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I was thinking that this morning. How bizarre is that? Well, there's no coincidence, is there? When you're, it was interesting because I think yesterday's reading said something about song, like joyful song, divine song, something like that. It was about hymns. I translated it to you. So this morning that popped into my head when I was driving the car, and I started to sing a little child's hymn that I used to sing at Sunday school. And I just no sooner started it than a car pulled out where it shouldn't have pulled out and made me have to brake when I was going across the junction. And so I tooted my horn. And then the guy pulled out into the other lane, and I went like up the inside of him, and I just looked across at him, and he's kind of tooting his horn at me. And I'm thinking I did nothing wrong. But anyway, there was a bit of aggro going on, and then he pulled in behind me, and I thought, oh, here we go. But meanwhile, it took me until I was like on the highway kind of, and he had disappeared because I was just kind of watching him driving. And then I remembered that I had started to sing that little hymn, and I'd gone completely when the driver had pulled out in front of me. And I found it interesting because I started to sing it again. I was thinking, how bizarre is it that you're focused on something and then something else happens and you completely lose. I think I was only 2 lines into the hymn, and I'd completely forgotten that I was singing it until after the kind of incident, and then I remembered again, so I started to sing it again. But I think that's life, isn't it? So I think what Jesus is trying to encourage us to do is to collaborate with him during the day. To collaborate with the energy of Christ within you, it's just the energy of love in your heart. And, it took me a while to smile about the fact that I'd had this altercation with this guy, and then kind of relaxing into just watching him in front of me doing whatever he was doing, with a smile on my face. But we can really forget our connection with this kind of joy, this love light that's inside of us, because of our humanity and our deeming somebody doing something to us. I could have just let it go. It cut in front of me. I had to brake. I was annoyed. Rather than being annoyed, I could have just been mindful of the fact that I had had to break. End of story. That was the reality of it. But anyway, my 5 minutes is up, and let's try and collaborate, because if we collaborate, the blessings that we will get, I think that's the calmness, the peace, far outweighs the aggro of our daily living. Namaste, love to you all. Bye now.